I'll call this meeting to order at 5:33. Welcome, everyone. Hopefully we'll be good with time tonight. Ms. Study, would you please conduct a roll call to ascertain a quorum? And you're on mute.
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina.
Yes.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson.
Yes.
Bill Brown.
Yes.
And Secretary Dottie McKinney. Here.
We have a quorum. Let us begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. We've got a handful of folks in the attendees panel, and we'll bring them on as they come up in the agenda. Hopefully, we won't bore you all too terribly. All right. So our next item is public comment regarding any item on the agenda. So we will open it up for public comment. Anybody who wishes to do so, please raise your hand in the virtual room and we will bring you into the panel.
I've also opened the chat if that's easier to type your name in the chat.
We'll give folks a minute. Okay, well then we will close the public comment regarding any agenda item this evening and move on to the approval of our current agenda. I move to approve this evening's agenda as posted. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Heather. Any errors we need to fix? That's pretty much a set agenda. No. Well then, Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve this evening's agenda as posted?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina.
Aye.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson.
Aye.
Bill Brown.
Aye.
And Dottie McKinney. Aye.
Thank you all. Item number 4 is the approval of our meeting minutes from our 12th and then 18th continuous meeting all wrapped up. I move to approve the meeting minutes from August 12th and the continuance on August 18th, 2025. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any changes, any omissions we need to square away? I didn't see any. It seemed like yesterday that we had that meeting. All right, so if there's no further discussion, Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve the meeting minutes from August 12th and the continuance on August 18th, 2025?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina. Vice Chair Heather Anderson.
Aye.
Bill Brown.
Aye.
And Dottie McKinney. Aye.
All right, minutes are approved. Thank you all very much. And we're right into school finances. Let's promote Justine Vigil into the panel. I think we have a little bit of information. I think we're looking at July and August. So buckle up, everybody.
Also, while we're waiting for Justine to unmute and get here, Jake, I just wanted to let you know I got in touch with Mr. Branch and he was able to join as an attendee if you need it for anything. Hey, Justine.
Hello.
Well, hello there. Welcome. The floor is yours, Ms. Vigil.
All right, I will share my screen. We do have financials for this month. These reports are run from July 1st through August 31st, starting with the revenue report. I like to point out the actual column. These are the actual revenues that the school has received as of August 31st. We did get some insurance money in, I believe in July. So I do have a excuse me, budget adjustment request to budget this revenue in. Also, another thing to point out is this budget for 397,000. It's for special items. I'm not sure what was received in the past or what was budgeted there. I've never really seen that type of revenue. So I did do a budget decrease to get rid of that. I don't know if we're going to receive any revenue in that line item. If we do, I can go and I can budget that revenue if we were to receive some special item. But I think there's other codes that are better used to be more specific as far as what that revenue is. So special items to me is a little generic. And maybe the previous business managers put this money here for the insurance, but there's an actual object code for insurance. So I kind of put that in the right place. But again, me taking it away, if we do get that revenue, I can always budget that revenue back. But I don't foresee the school receiving a special item. As far as other revenues, though, you could see it's broken down by fund. We got transportation for July and August in, food reimbursement, I believe, from the prior year, some activity funds, Medicaid from the prior year, and then your HB 33 and SB 9. And that comes on a monthly basis. Going on to the expenditure report. The way we kind of do this expenditure report, I run it July 1st through month end, so August 31st. I do see an end date here of September 3rd. I think I maybe have done some change orders that I wanted to capture in this report, but usually I will run to month end. We do have some negative functions that will be cleaned up with a bar. I don't believe I cleaned these ones up fully this month. I wanted to meet with Jake and make sure that the salaries that we have in operational were coded correctly. And so we did talk about it, and I am in the process of fixing those. So once I get those all fixed and make sure all salaries are in the right place, then I will do a budget adjustment request to fix all of those negative functions. I think when we first came on, our priority was just getting payroll run and making sure employees were getting paid. So I wasn't too worried about the coding, but now that I've had some time to kind of go through each function, we're getting that fixed now. But operational still in good standing. We're really only 2 months in the fiscal year. We have 1.1 million in operational available. So that's good. One thing to look here is food services. I spoke with Brittany, who opens the purchase orders, and so she's gonna kind of split the food services PO coming from the USDA federal and putting some of that purchase order into the USD, well, it's the Universal Free Lunch, but those two funds kind of work the same. So that is why that is a big negative, is because that purchase order needs to be split up between the two funds. And then these funds are really based on a reimbursement. So I kind of keep track of this fund to see what revenues are coming in. If we receive more revenues than anticipated, I'll do a budget increase. But at the end of the year, I'll say about May, June, if we haven't received the revenues that we estimated, it'll probably have to be a budget decrease. And then whatever expense will have to come out of operational. So I watch that one a little closely. Going on to the other federal funds, we have Title I's just negative a little bit. That's just due to the employees' benefits coming out of this fund. It's kind of hard to estimate what those benefits are going to be, but again, that won't be negative by year end. So we usually clean all of that up before year end. So whatever the fund does not cover will come out of operational. All of their funds are looking good. Medicaid, nothing there. We usually like to kind of wait on that one to spend down. That one can be used for special ed services. but we want to make sure to meet MOE first, and that's maintenance of effort. And what that means is you have to spend the same amount of money for special ed services out of operational that you did in the prior year before you can spend on any other federal funds. So we'll have that as a placeholder to kind of see and make sure that we are meeting the maintenance of effort. I submitted a reimbursement request for the public school kitchen infrastructure. So we had some invoices. I think this project was done last fiscal year. We finally got the invoices in and paid. So I have submitted this RFR, so we're just waiting on that reimbursement. You can see that the lease reimbursement is not budgeted. That application was due on August 15th. We usually expect the award letter, I would say mid-November, maybe beginning of December. So once we get that award letter, we will get that fund budgeted. I think we're estimating about $1 million for that lease reimbursement. So if it comes in any more, any less, we'll kind of adjust that expense to make sure we're not over budget. That is it as far as revenues and expenditures. Are there any questions so far?
I have one real quick, just trying to understand back on the first page.
Okay.
You mentioned that HB 33 and SB 9 money comes in monthly, and our year-to-dates are 28,000 and 14,000 respectively. That seems woefully under our monthly amount. Can you talk us through that?
So I would say about twice a year, we get a big chunk, and I want to say it's around December and June. That big chunk of money comes in. I think that's what I don't recall when property taxes are due, but these two funds are funded based on property taxes in the counties. So I think you get Sandoval County and Bernalillo County. And so this is only for, I believe, July. They're usually a month behind. So that's what it is right now. But I know we usually get a big chunk around December and June.
Okay, so yeah, so if that looks low for what we're getting monthly versus what we've budgeted for, it's because we need to factor in those two big disbursements. Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Any other questions? All right, going on to the issued purchase orders report. These are the current open POs that the school has. This is really just an information only report showing you what POs are open, how much is spent down from each PO. If you look here at the type dollar means it's a monthly expense, or maybe we're going to pay a couple of invoices on one PO. Regular is a one-time expense. So once that we've paid on that purchase order, it closes out. And so things like the utilities, the rent, any contracted services usually are dollar purchase orders. Going on to the bank account register activity, this is just for the month of August. So this report every month, I'll just do it just for that current, or just for the prior month. So next month, you'll just see the activity for September. So this is just for the month of August, showing all deposits received and all expenses for that month. And so you see a lot of names here. We had to get the bank set up for the payroll, so that is the reason for all the names there. And then again, all the revenues and expenses still. So we had about 1.8 million in revenues and 1.7 million in expenses. Going on to the bank reconciliation, as of August 31st, there was an ending balance in the bank of 685,000. There were outstanding checks of 209,000, so it brings the balance at 475,000 per our general ledger, which reconciles to the balance sheet, which is the next couple of pages. And so what the balance sheet shows you, It shows you total cash by fund, and so it kind of shows you like the total cash in the bank account by fund, as well as the liabilities included. And so if you see any negatives here on the assets or the cash, we're just waiting on revenues to come in. So it's mostly those reimbursement based funds. Any questions on this?
Couple questions. I mean, in the future, is the payroll always going to show all the individuals?
No, I probably should have taken that off. We now have payroll doing direct deposit. It was just getting it set up for the first couple of months, but no, it'll just show the direct deposit and the total payroll for the school on that pay period. So yes.
And
And maybe before these are posted to the website, Karen, I'll resend the report and kind of combine everybody's payroll on that.
Yeah, that'll help with privacy.
Yes,
Although-
yeah, I'm sorry about that.
yeah, although I will say that I would prefer that we do that, Justine,
Yes.
but payroll is public record for all school employees, so it isn't a violation.
Correct.
I don't think the net pay should be on there, just because
Mm-hmm.
I agree, the payroll should be on there. I don't think people's names should be there. So I can leave it there and just kind of put employee instead of the name. Or I can combine all the paychecks. So whatever you prefer. But it won't be on there in the future.
Right.
And moving
Either way,
forward, is near peer payment going to be that? Those are still paper checks. Is that correct for our near peer tutors?
Yes.
I'm not too sure.
We
Okay.
have, we have done direct deposit for those that have provided direct deposit in the past. I know that we may have had some who didn't have an account to use perhaps, but generally, Jake, I'm finding in the near peer files that we had direct deposit documents. So I think if we have that, we can direct deposit.
Okay, just so you know, Bill, and that sometimes will continue to show up. Those are our student tutors who are paid for their tutoring throughout the day, and they get a paycheck. At least last year specifically, they got paper paychecks, so those would still show up on the register for those kids.
Okay.
But in that case, I think we should redact the names, if that happens in the future, Justine. And for this report, I don't care if you want me to just redact names or if you want to roll that into one line. It's up to you.
I can I'll resend this report and I will just I'll probably just keep it. You can see the paycheck, but yeah, I'll redact the names and just put employee.
Justine, something that the previous business manager did was give us a forecast. And it would look ahead 2 or 3 months to see what the income and the expenses were. That would be nice to have going forward. I know you're still trying to get your feet on the ground after the transition. So something to put in the back of your head is it's really nice to see that cash flow forecast and the expenses. It was nice to be able to get an idea of what our financial picture was looking like so that we weren't surprised going forward. So something to put in your inbox.
Okay.
And Justine, do you have, to be honest, I wasn't paying attention to your reports, but in your reports, do you have the encumbrances showing, which also helps with that question from Chair Molina?
Yes. So this is
And then,
yeah, this is the encumbrance. So
So
if we spend everything that we have open POs for, and if no one quits, if we don't hire anyone new, this is kind of where you'll end up. That's probably unlikely. I know purchase orders are going to be continued to be open throughout the year, and some may not be used. So yes, it could go either way, but yeah, that kind of gives a general picture.
So with those negative funds, are there any we're concerned the state won't cover?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
You have several funds where we're billing the state. Is there anything that we're concerned that the state will reject or not cover? Or, I mean, are they required to cover? I'm not entirely certain how all these funds work. Are they automatically funded based on usage, or how is it? Does my question make any sense at all?
Yes, no, I understand. So like they are funded differently. Operational is kind of funded too on the 10th of each month, and that is based on a big formula. It's kind of based on the 8120-day average from last year, plus any projected growth of students in this current year. It goes into special ed, fine arts. So it's just a long, long formula that kind of generates this SCG. It's called the SCG operational fund. And so that one is, yeah, it's given on the 10th of each month. It's basically this amount divided by 12.
Yeah.
Transportation is given, you're given a budget as well, and this one is given to you every single month. And so that one's a set budget. Your food services is based on, I believe, the students who eat. So they do a student count. And those reports are sent to USDA, and that is just a reimbursement-based fund. They don't look at what you're paying in food services, they look at the students.
Okay.
And then your Title I, Idea B, those are set budgets. And so like here you see this one's negative. If if this fund is, I mean, it's not covering the $1,700, so that expense will be moved to operational to make sure this is zero at year end, because PD and auditors do not like to see you overspending your funds. So that
Okay.
one, we can move that part of that expense to operational. And then any of these other ones that are available, we can move expenses from operational into these funds to spend them down. But yeah, these ones are reimbursement based funds. So how I get the reimbursement is I send PED a report of what we spent this money on, and they reimburse that exact amount back. And so I do those on a monthly basis.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
Excellent. Super great questions. Thank you, Bill. All right. Well, then I move to approve the financial reports ending the month of August 31st, 2025, which include July's 2025 report. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any further discussion or questions for Ms. Vigil? And then we'll go into the bars. Very good. Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve the financial reports for the month ending August 31st, 2025, which include the month of July 2025?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson,
Aye.
Bill Brown,
Aye.
and Dottie McKinney, aye.
All right. Let's get into the bars. We've got 3 of them this time.
All right. So we have bar number 4. This is a decrease. I had mentioned it's that special items revenue for 397,000. And I'm taking it out of the budget for fixed assets. That budget is pretty large. You can see here the present budget is 3.4 million. So I am decreasing that budget line by 397,000. Do you want me to go through all bars and then approve at the end?
Yes, please.
I'll do. Okay. So bar number 5, this is an increase bar. This is for $262,286 for that insurance. And I'm budgeting it right back into where I took it out of, just in case. I didn't build this budget, so I didn't know if there was a plan for this money, but I didn't want to just take it out. So I'm putting that 262 back in there. And then bar number 6, this is a transfer bar. There was a negative function. I'm taking the budget out of function 4,000 in the public school kitchen infrastructure fund, and I'm increasing the budget line for fixed assets. And this is where we paid the large invoice out of.
All right. Well, then I move to approve the bars ending in 0004D, 005I, and 0006T. A second, please.
I'll
Oh.
second.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Any further discussion or questions? It was pretty well explained during the financial report. So, all right, Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote
Yes,
to approve the bars ending in 0004D, 0005I, and 0006T as presented?
yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson,
Aye.
Bill Brown,
Aye.
Dottie McKinney, aye.
All right. Very good. Well, seems like you're back in the saddle, Justine. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
Are those joyful little voices coming from your side?
Probably. My husband's at a meeting as well, so they're having to entertain themselves.
Awesome. Awesome. Wonderful. Well, thank you so very much.
All right, you're welcome.
All right.
Sending you back through cyberspace, Justine.
All right. Our learning celebration has been postponed. We'll hopefully have one next month, which brings us to Mr. Jake Colander's administration and staff report. Jake, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Molina. Thank you, board, for this evening. So we have a very special treat lined up for you. We may not have a learning celebration, but we have a life celebration, because what we're going to do is get a team together. We're going to come in and present to you all about what we are intending to do for our low enrollment. So I think, Karen, if you might move to the panel, if you could bring Val and Katia and Anthony into the panel. Leticia will be joining us, but she was getting out of an appointment at 5:45 estimated. So she said she will be in this as soon as she possibly can. So I will start with just one staffing thing, and then we'll move into that, because we had spoken last month that we knew our numbers were not hitting where we had projected on our budget, and I wanted to make sure that all of us who are engaged to some degree, some more, some less, in ensuring that both recruitment is happening and kids who are recruited are getting registered and staying, and those who are a part of our school are keeping with us. I wanted the whole group to be here. So for the board members who don't know the staff that will be here, so Leticia Fraga is our director of enrollment and records, and she, like I said, she'll be joining us when she gets the chance to. She's getting out of an appointment and trying to get here as soon as she can. Val Armenta, who's our student records and attendance manager, will be joining us. Katia Pride, who's of course our director of outreach, and Anthony, who is our mid-high principal, because of course our numbers woes are at the mid-high. And so he had presented, Bill, I don't think you were, yeah, he presented, I think, before you were on the board back in the spring with some, with a presentation that he made about intentions on how to help retain students, because that's of course a big battle for us. And so he's providing an update for that. So that's those are the people that will be joining us, and that's somewhat the order for how they're going to present. But the minor staffing thing, just to let you all know, we were struggling to find appropriate special ed candidates to join our school. And our director of special education, Danielle Nee, was able to connect with a company that does, they're like the name I keep coming up with is like a Kelly Services or something. They're essentially an agency that finds people who are qualified for these kinds of positions and helps market them to schools. I ran some numbers because they seem a bit pricey on the surface. They are $78 an hour to have a staff member join us for special ed. However, that $78 an hour pays their salary and benefits, and they only pay hourly. So we essentially build out a contract for them of the remaining days that we have, and charge them $7 an hour, so they have a full hour of lunch on there. And so 7 hours a day at $78 an hour for 4 days a week for the remainder of the school year. It seems a lot, but when I asked Justine, I said, what is your calculation when somebody is hired? How do you calculate the cost of salary plus benefits? And she said, you take their base salary and it's a 1.4 multiplier. So whatever that is times 1.4 equals total cost of that employee on campus. So just to compare some numbers, because we've interviewed 2 people, both of whom we think would be excellent. We have a resignation that occurred at our elementary school, and so we're going to be bringing on someone to take that position, as well as we have needed an additional person at our mid-high and someone to take on that position from this organization. But just a numbers example, once they've hit a level 3 license, that level of license, and if they have more than about 5 years of experience, $78 an hour is actually a savings for us compared to what we would pay for their salary plus benefits over time. So as an example, one applicant that we really liked, and she has 38 years of experience and has a level 3 license, of course. By paying her hourly for the remainder of the year, we actually save almost $6,000. Not a ton, but every little bit helps. And we save that over the course of the year on her contract rather than us just hiring her outright. And we found another young woman who's going to be amazing. We hope to get her onboarded as well. And we save about $4,000 off of her contract by paying the hourly rate versus the actual contract amount. Of course, the issue is you're probably thinking to yourselves, that means you're making an agreement with a single organization that will exceed $60,000. That is accurate. So we do need to go out to RFP for it. What they have agreed is that temporarily, to get them on board, we're going to do a small contract for a small period of time to keep it under that procurement so that we've got the 10 days we need for the RFP to go out and to get that back and to have you all approve it. But it gets those staff at our campus and serving kids to the best of their ability with their expertise just as soon as we can get background checks done and hiring paperwork finalized with the organization. So there you go. So you should be expecting results of an RFP for that, but that's what it's for. We've tried to hire our own special education teachers. We've had a mixed bag of applicants, and we really do want great teachers. And they are hard to come by in the special education world. That particular field is expanding in its clientele, as well as the complexity of said clientele. And so it will be a challenge always, I think, to recruit those particular staff. So having an organization kind of on our side helping find qualified candidates is good for us. I will say that if the question is, could you, after this year, hire them? They have an agreement that we sign that we have to pay a $22,000 flat rate finder's fee to them for finding the employee if they choose to break contract with their organization and come on board directly with us. So just to put that out there, that's also a reason why we chose to hire through them as opposed to hiring from them, if that makes sense. Very good. Any questions about that before we move into our next step? Excellent. Okay. So the sequence that I kind of pasted out, when I talked to the team last week, I asked the TC, I said, would you mind going first? Because she has a very good handle on what happens between the lottery and the end of the school year, and the approach that they took towards how ensuring students were indicating that they are committing to returning to our school, what that process looked like to make sure that not only did they get in, but also students who were selected as part of the lottery, we presented some new deadlines, because what we didn't want were families that had accepted and then they're hanging out with us for a long period of time that then eventually drop, and we've waited all that time, and another family who may be coming in has chosen to go to a different school. So that piece we can probably hold on to. I know Katia knows a lot of that. I don't want to put her on the spot and say, can you cover that part of the presentation? So I won't ask her to do that unless she wants to volunteer for it. I pause waiting to look at Katia, and
I mean, she has all of her data and stuff, and so she organized that and put all that together. So I can speak to that. I mean, I can speak to the process a little bit. If you want me to start kind of on that, I can speak to the process of intent to return, and those numbers. But if you're wanting like all of her data,
okay. Yeah, if you just want to mention the process, because the intent was to have her sort of talk about lottery to end of the school year, and then Valormenta to step in with when she took over her new role as student records and attendance as of July 1st. What did that look like from July to essentially the start of the school year, and the efforts that she's made to make sure that those students come in? And then sort of back to Katia we got a month left till 40th day, and she did present at our last board meeting. So kind of what does the next 4 weeks look like for us? So if you don't mind just kind of giving us a cursory overview of what that looked like, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, so what we initially do, we started, again, you're gonna have to ask her for exact dates because I did not handle this, but we started, I'm gonna say it was around January, February, early February, collecting the intent to returns. What happens is it goes out to parents, first via PowerSchool and then via email also. So we send them out multiple reminders. It's listed in the Howl. And we give them, I believe we gave them a deadline. I don't remember the original deadline. There was an original deadline that was set for 3 weeks out. So we gave them 3 weeks to get it done. That includes writing, maybe. So they did have the option to present I might be coming back. I'm not sure. And so that gives that option. We gave them 3 weeks. I think we ended up giving them 4 just because we had kind of a lower response, parents who weren't completely clear on being able to put, maybe, or what it meant if they put, do they immediately lose their spot if they put not sure. So we clarified that. We actually gave them, I believe, until mid-February, almost March. We were pretty close up to the lottery date for those who were not sure to give us an answer. So what happens is we close it. We say, okay, intent to return is closed. Here are the numbers that we have that say that they're coming back. So they can say definitely returning, not sure, not returning. And so what we did was we took the definitely returning along with the not sure, added those together, obviously came up with numbers for the lottery. Then we took out the not sure, and that's the number that we end up using in the lottery. So we actually deduct the not sure. This year we deducted those who said they were not sure from the get-go. And then if they came back, fantastic, good for us. But some of those that were not sure that still had not answered us, which was a very low number. I know she can give you that exact number. But it was a pretty low number, but we deducted those from the start of lottery anyway. And then that's how we came up with our initial lottery numbers. Is that kind of what you meant, Jake? A little bit? Okay.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
Yep. Very good. So, and maybe this would be a good time to sort of present what, well, let me hold off. Let me let Val do hers, and then we'll present some of those numbers I think Leticia may have prepped. But Val, if you don't mind jumping in, you sort of took over your role of really getting hands into the process of kids both enrolling and also simultaneously withdrawing about in July. So if you don't mind just letting the board know a little bit about what does that work look like? What have you been, what does your side of the job look like in terms of the efforts that you're making to help not only get kids finished enrolling, but withdrawn?
Well, since July, this July was not like any other July. So we were still making calls to parents that had been accepted, which is a tedious job. That's 3 to 4 contacts per parent, just to remind them, fill out your forms, get your forms in. I need your birth certificate, whatever. That's a slow and tedious process. So we were still in that from March till June. And coming back in July, we were still doing that process, but then compounded by the withdrawals, and the withdrawals were fast and furious. There's some days that's all I would get done was withdrawals. So fortunately, that has slowed down now. I only had 3 today, so that's good. But the number of withdrawals has been just astronomical.
And have you seen, one thing that you had mentioned, we had talked about what you saw as leading causes for why parents were choosing to withdraw, and not those who were choosing to not finish enrollment, but those who were specifically choosing to withdraw. What have you seen as major reasons coming through?
The top reason is they're returning back to their district schools to have a more traditional educational model. That's the number one. And that comes in at 26%. The next one is students that are struggling academically, or they're not feeling successful at Explore Academy. After that comes going back to their district schools for sports, and then followed by that, extracurricular activities. Those are the big 4.
And do you know, is the traditional model one, is that, do you assume that that includes those who are wanting the 5-day week as opposed to the 4-day week? Is that lumped in there, or are they literally talking, I want the same English teacher for the whole year?
No, I believe that they are talking about the 4-day versus 5 days.
Okay. Very
Excuse
good.
me,
And just to, go ahead, I'm
excuse
sorry.
me, Mr. Colander, I just wanted to note that Ms. Fraga has joined and I promoted her to the panel.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Thank you. So, and Leticia, we had just, Katia gave us just a quick overview of what that process looked like in terms of the intent to return. So we can jump back if you feel settled. Claudia, you're coming back from an appointment. If you want to jump in, that's fine.
Sure, if just talking about intent to return, or where did you want to start?
I think both in terms of what was different this year than in previous years in terms of our process in the late spring going into the summer. And then I don't know if you had, I do have some ready if you don't, but some of those charts that I think Justin had helped us produce that showed some of those definitely returning withdrawal numbers over the years. I put something together, but I didn't know if you had something already.
No, other than what had been shared with me. But in terms of the intent to return, that process is not any different than what we've done in the last 2 years. Our process has pretty much stayed the same. The parents are asked in January to kind of let us know if they're coming back or not. They can, at that time, they've got 3 options that they can choose from. Either their student is definitely coming back, they're unsure, or their student is definitely transferring. And then we do give them a month after that to find out for the students that had marked unsure at that time, a month later, are they intending to come back or are they not intending to come back? So that process has pretty much stayed the same. We do allow, if parents have changed their minds past that point, and they had indicated that they were staying, but they have since chosen not to, we can update that for them. The only issue is once we hit the lottery, if they have indicated that they were transferring, and then they suddenly decide that they do want to come back, if we've hit the lottery, we no longer have their space for them. And so if we can find a spot for them, we can do that. But if there's not a space available and we've already gone through the lottery and we have given those spots to other applicants, we have to wait until a spot opens up, if that makes sense. Okay.
Gotcha.
And that is the same process that we've done, like I said, for several years in a row now. The families are very familiar with it. We make sure that the front office person does reach out. If there are any questions for the families who indicated that they were unsure, we make sure that we do get those responses back and find out by the end of February what their final decision is at that point.
And then I thought there was something that had changed in terms of deadlines, but maybe that's on the enrollment side, that the turnaround time between when they accepted and when they had to get paperwork in, was that what was different this year?
Mm-hmm. So, sorry, I can take this one if you're okay with that, Fraga. Okay. Really, so one thing we did change this year, and we actually changed it in the acceptance letter, so the process starts with me. Once a family is accepted into our school, let's say start of the lottery, right? We have those intent to return numbers, we deduct those. Then what we do is at the lottery time, right, students are admitted. What we did was we took the deadline down from 14 days down to 7 days. Mm-hmm. The reason we did that was because last year we saw a lot of families who were waiting the entire 14 days, not making any movement. And unfortunately, we can't fill that seat until they have expired, because that seat is technically given to them. So we moved it from 14 days down to 7 to complete the enrollment process. Last year, we waited for them to start the enrollment process, which can get a little bit confusing. And this, I don't know if this, Jake, might take a little too long to explain the entire process, but they're accepted. Then they start the registration process in Power School. All of that is done through me. I conduct calling them, texting them when they're at the accepted status, talking to them about the model, things like that. Then once they complete the start registration in Power School, that's when they are rolled into enrollment school, and they're able to complete all of our enrollment forms and things like that. We used to just have that started point where they complete through start registration with me. Now this year we did fully enrolled, meaning they needed to have forms filled out in Power School and complete. We did that again to try to avoid to see that drop that we saw last year, where we had numbers that we were counting on. And then all of a sudden, right, we saw that big drop. That was because we were counting on those who had started to actually finish the process and then never did. So that was a change we made. And the other deadline change that we made was, now that the school year has started, it does state that we've only given them 48 hours, which is worth noting. Standard at some of the other charters is 48 hours altogether, like from the lottery. So we're being generous by giving them that time to be able to actually, seek help, give us time to reach out to them, things like that. So it is 48 hours once the school year has started. So we have cycled into that 48 hour deadline. Sorry, was that the question?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then I'll share screens real quick with we did pull, so we had some data that was pulled, and I think these charts were probably the most telling in terms of what, as a board, you might want to see in terms of numbers. So one thing we looked at were defined as unexpected withdrawals, which overall that definition meant students who had indicated they were definitely returning. And this is only for grades 6 through 12. But these were the withdrawals that we saw happen from last year compared to this year. So you'll notice that visually they look similar, but you check that y-axis and the numbers jumped pretty big. And then we also placed that in, so numbers wise, that meant in 2024, there were 95 students who had indicated that they were planning to return that did not. Whereas this year we had 168 that indicated they were planning to return and did not. And then if you want to see the breakdown by month from last year and the last 2 years compared to this, that's that big jump in July. So when I would come onto campus in July, that was a lot of file processing, withdrawal forms, CATIA checking where are these kids getting pulled from, so that if there were students on the wait list, we could get them moved in. And that numbers, you can see we have that little space that kind of cross over almost going into August from the previous year, but that jump is just a bigger jump than we had seen in the past. And as Val was mentioning, part of the traditional model in the academics, there was also a challenge with students who had accepted to the school, but then could not get a sibling in at the elementary because there wasn't room. And so parents chose to pull them all together. But I want to just share the visuals of what that looked like in terms of our of how enrollment has worked. So now that we're squarely in September, we have about 30 days before we hit our 40-day count, which is what will impact budget. I think I asked Katia to join us to talk about what does the next 4 weeks look like? What's on our horizon, and what does that look like for us?
Yeah, of course. So I'm going to give you guys kind of a little bit of rundown of where we're at. The document that I used last meeting has just been updated with all this information. So if we get it linked into that agenda, you should have the ability to see everything I'm going to talk about. Yes.
Excuse me, Katia, it's from last meeting?
Yes, the document
I can
that
go.
They had me send over. I can resend you the link, Karen.
I can pull it from the last agenda and put it on this agenda for everybody.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's just the same. I just edited the same document to make it easier. So right now, current total numbers, we are 1420. We did lose a few more. K-5 is one area that we lost a few. So we are, obviously those are filled and those are they're filled. We're waiting for acceptance. Right now we have about 21 exactly, that are sitting at accepted status, meaning they have not started the enrollment process in Power School. I have been able to get into contact with about 19 of them who seem eager to join us. I've given them every resource they need to get started. I am scheduled to send out another text message reach out tomorrow. So hopefully we can push a lot of those applications through. We do have about 4 who are sitting in enrollment school, a few that have toured the K-5 that are just, getting forms filled out and getting ready to kind of transition in. So those K-5 spots are getting filled. Again, since we only have that 48-hour jump, we're able to just kind of cycle through them pretty fast and accept a lot more off the waiting list than necessary, just because the school year has started. And that's a challenge that I always face when I have K-5 slots. Once the school year starts, especially once we're into September, it's really hard to start filling those little spots. By little, I mean K to 5. Just because families don't want to move this year or they'll apply next year. So by me calling and texting those accepted families, I feel like we've gotten a little bit more streamlined in knowing like, yes, oh, I want to apply for next year. Okay, and I can kind of save their contact for next year. But right now we have those 21 who are still sitting at accepted. Campaigns are running. They look good. There was a small hiccup, but everything looking good. YouTube right now, August results, we got 56 clicks. Out of that, again, there was a little hiccup with some payment and it stopped for a day or two, so that kind of hurt the number a little bit, but currently we're at 75 with September included. Highest rates are Friday through Sunday, so Friday through Sunday is really when we're seeing people, clicking on the link, clicking on the ad, opening up the ad, things like that. Total impressions, we were projected at 50,000 impressions off of YouTube. We've actually gotten 74,571. So looking really good. Programmatic ads even better. August results, 508 clicks. Again, highest Friday through Sunday, which surprised me. Is actually in the morning time, which surprised me. Impressions, 784,384. Sorry, excuse me. Conversions, meaning that they clicked on the website, is 757. Contact form that I've actually made contact with is 14. And total application clicks was 5. Now, again, we don't have a direct way to say, like, once they click on the application, it's safe to assume they applied in my brain, but again, that's not 100%. Like, they could open the application and say, never mind, I don't want to, and click out of it. So that number is a little bit like 5. We can say we got 5 off. But again, that doesn't 100% mean they actually applied. We have added the question into PowerSchool regarding like, how did you hear about us, or how did you, so that has been added into PowerSchool, so we'll be able to start pulling that data now. The team did get that added, pretty quickly after the last board meeting. Facebook and Instagram, same things. Projection was 100,000 impressions. We are a little bit underneath that for Facebook and Instagram. When there was a little bit of a hiccup, I did move some of the money into programmatic ads and YouTube ads away from Facebook ads, just because because of the funds. So 54,888 impressions with 56 clicks. So the clicks are higher than I expected with that number of impressions, but overall, things are looking good. We are all set for our information session at the mid-high. We have been recruiting businesses to come out, and community partners and things like that. I've gone to the entire strip mall. I've gone over by Masthead to businesses over there. I've reached out to a couple of businesses who've helped us with teacher appreciation events, things like that. And so far we have about 5 who have agreed to join us for that. And again, we're not stopping that push. We're continuing that this into next week and all the way up until the event. Parents have been invited. The date has been sent out. All of the contacts that I have made, as well as the applicants, have been invited and sent like a formal fancy invitation to that, where we're going to have, enrollment stands set up and all that stuff. KRQE, hopefully you all were able to see the interview that Mr. Colander, Mr. Branch, and Ms. Vargas did. They did a really excellent job. So that also got great reviews. And again, it's a great resource to have that goes right now. The struggle is we have to have multiple points of contact with families, because it's not like we're selling a product, right? It's not something they can buy and then just decide to return, like a bad mascara. This is moving your child's schools. So we really have to appeal on different levels of emotion, really making ourselves, really selling the model and its success. So that's a great tool to have, along with, phone calls and being able to talk to them, send them the segment. So yeah, I think is that everything you wanted to cover?
And board members, I just want to say I added the correct link for Director Pride's presentation on the agenda and the minutes. There are bookmarks to the left that show all the things she was discussing. Maybe next time, Katia, share your screen. I don't know that I had it there.
Don't have the option. I looked for it. Show captions
Oh,
by apps. I don't have the option. So that's why I didn't do it. I apologize. I should have said that.
everyone on the panel can.
Whiteboards, apps, raise hand, show captions, record,
There's
chat.
a little share envelope with an arrow pointing up. You don't have that?
Mm-mm. It could, maybe it's cut off on here. Let me try. Oh,
Anyway,
I apologize. I did, yeah. So
it's just that I didn't have the link for the board members to see, but it's there now.
Very good. And so as Katia mentioned, we are aiming for that event on the 18th and hoping to get some positive effects with that. One thing that we added to it, I don't recall that I brought this up last month, but actually City of Albuquerque is doing the North I-25 improvement project. And so we asked them if they would join us on the 18th. So they will also be there with a table and are looking to utilize the facility as a potential place for public input on the North I-25 corridor. So I did ask our City of Albuquerque friend, I said, is there any way to get some positive press out of this? That even if the story is a City of Albuquerque story, filmed at and located at Explore Academy, I would still count as part of our OKRs of positive press of things about Explore Academy. So he said he's going to ask his supervisor to see if either a City of Albuquerque reporter from the Journal or somebody from educational side might be able to come out and just cover the fact that we're trying to. I say the word partner, and that's probably a little bit more intense of a term than we're actually at right now. But that's what I would like to think, is that there's a degree to which we're hoping to partner with the City of Albuquerque to use our site for that North I-25 project planning this year. So for our enrollment side, I don't know, Leticia, Val, or Katia, anything else that you wanted to add or any questions from the board for our enrollment team before we move over to Anthony?
Real quick, I've forgotten the capacity. What's the capacity at the K through 5 and the? I mean, I see we currently have 1420, but what's our capacity?
So our K5 is, I mean, the capacity is at the K5 is met. Like I think 420, 425 is what fits at that campus. We were hoping to have 1510. The capacity is probably around 1600. At Galton, the budget projection was built on enrollment size of 1510.
And your enrollment cap is 1,700, but there's not enough room for 1,700 kids.
So
Actually, now your enrollment cap is 3,750.
Sorry.
Correction.
And Claire, you're saying 1700 at Galton.
No, it was 1,700 before the recent increase, but even then we couldn't reach the cap because of spacing at both campuses, right? You just said 16 maybe would be kind of pushing it, but we could fit maybe 1,600 total.
Yeah.
So you could, I mean, your goal was 1520. Is that correct? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I think 1510 was what we used as our budget. Yeah.
But Golden can accept more than just, I mean, a masthead's got a cap that, you know, it can only handle the 425 is what I'm hearing. And then the remainder of that would have all come from Golden.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, so no more than about 1,300 students. I think 1,300 students at Galton plus the 400 that would be our 1,700 cap. So we were looking to have essentially 1,100 and some students at Galton.
Gotcha.
Okay, then thank you, Val and Leticia and Katia. We will jump to Anthony, who's going to talk a little bit about retention efforts.
Thank you. So I'm going to try to share my screen. I've been having problems with my computer. So hopefully this will go fine without any hiccups.
And can I clarify, I believe, Ms. Werner, that we need any presenter, we need to have them also turn their camera on. Is that?
Yeah,
no,
it would. I think that's one of our norms is camera on if you're able.
Yeah, let me try to turn it on because I was.
But maybe not while you're presenting, maybe when we're done for the discussion, Mr. Branch, but
Okay. Yeah,
we do see your screen,
okay.
but you need to start the slideshow and then maximize it would be great.
Yes, ma'am. Come on.
You had it slideshow. Is it just delayed?
Yeah,
Oh, there we go.
yeah.
Yeah, there we go. And then if you want to, I don't think you're maximized on your screen. There we
No,
go.
I'm trying to do
Oh,
all that because, like I said,
yeah,
I've been
looks,
having,
yeah, it looks good. We see Explore Academy action for retention.
okay, um, so I guess I'm lucky in the point that I get to talk about where my focus was 11th and 12th graders, where we seem to have the most turnover for us when we get to those grades, and simply because when our students reach the 12th grade, they're so far ahead that they want to go to a traditional high school because they take one or two classes and they're done for the day. So, but I have some exciting news, and that is that from last year to this year, we graduated 42 seniors. Right now, that are enrolled at our school, potential graduates is 83. And it looks a little bit different. If you look at last year's juniors, it was 81. So we had two seniors enroll in school. So that's very exciting as well. Right now we have 96 juniors that are actually enrolled here at Explore Academy. So we're looking to increase those numbers. But right now, the numbers are a lot higher than what they've been in the last 2 to 3 years. So very proud of that. This one right here is a single but important slide, simply because we have 90 members, which we've never had in our Silver Wolves. And if anybody knows our Silver Wolves organization, they're ambassadors to the school. And so they help us with a lot of the info nights and showing students around school, giving tours to parents. And so, and what's even more impressive, that is 75% of our seniors are in leadership roles in our Silver Wolf program. So we're very excited about that. I also want to talk about our clubs. So as you can see, last year we had 2 clubs that actually traveled. And so that was our robotics and our Model UN. This year we have 5 clubs that are looking to actually do some traveling and compete against other schools. So we're very excited about that. So I think the more that we increase these numbers in clubs and allow our students to be able to go into and participate in extracurricular activities outside of sports is a good idea for the school, and that's just increasing the numbers. We also have this year, as you can see on there, we have DECA, and that's new to our school. We actually just hired one of our science teachers who actually added DECA to us, was a mentor in DECA, and she brought that over to the school. We're also adding speech and debate, and that's allowing students to, again, compete against schools, so they have that ability to do so, to get to increase their skill sets as far as when it comes to competing against other schools. We also offered adding after school clubs, and I think that that's an important aspect of the school, which is also helping to retain some of our students here at the school, simply because they have that avenue to do. This is the first year where we really had multiple clubs that were offered after school. We normally offer our clubs during a school day. Last year when we were on a 5-day work week, it was 5-day work week, it was on Fridays. This year with the 4-day work week, our club day is on Thursday. And if testing falls on that Thursday, then we do our clubs on Tuesday. So we're excited about expanding our clubs to give our kids the opportunity to be able to do more things after school. So this year, our focus really is trying to make the experience for our seniors with everything that we're doing. We're doing this thing which I call the last first day. And what that is the first day of school, obviously, they get one of those. And so we have a list that our senior class president actually checks off after the event is completed. So we continue to add things to our toolbox powder puff. We had a powder puff football game that our junior and senior girls participated in, and that went off very well. Where we had a lot of parents that are on campus and watching watching the event this year. We have it scheduled. We just don't have a date yet for the junior senior powder puff game. This year we're adding a bonfire for our seniors, because again, like was stated earlier, our kids are looking for a more traditional aspect of school and how they view stuff. And so we're trying to add to that to make sure that we can offer a lot of the things that a traditional high school offers for each and every one of our students here at Explore Academy. Going into athletics, and there's here for a high school, we look at two phases. Right now, we are involved with Albuquerque Charter League, and for what it is, it's not really competitive, but it gives our students the opportunity to compete against other charter schools within Albuquerque. So what we're trying to build from that, right, is we're trying to build foundations, also while increasing practice time and raising criteria for our coaches. So we're trying to find better better coaches for our students, so the skill sets that they learn from those coaches allows them to participate within the sport of their choosing. So that's one of the aspects I think is also helping keeping students in here in our school. And obviously attracting talent. Anytime you have a competitive program, that's going to retain athletes, and that's just going to bring more athletes to the school because they're interested in what we're the product that we're putting out for people to see. And then character and skill development. I think that that's an important piece because we're taking a holistic approach to prepare student athletes for the success both in the sports that they're participating, but also within life. So that's a very strong aspect. Our athletic director, Ms. Cassidy, is doing a fantastic job in making sure that we move forward in our athletic program. And then phase two, which we've been talking about, and eventually we want to make sure that we're able to attain, and that's joining the NMAA, so the New Mexico Activities Association. That's just going to bring a lot more opportunities for our kids to be seen, not only from the aspect of earning scholarships, but also allowing them to participate against other schools that have been doing this for a while, and so our kids get the same recognition that other schools are getting here in New Mexico. And we also want to increase participation by engaging more students, boosting overall participation in our athletic program, and enhancing visibility. And again, that's attracting the top talented coaches and to be able to coach our students here at the school. And our middle school, so this year we're in a different, instead of being in a charter school league, we are in the APIAL program. And so what that does is that allows our kids to compete, our middle school students to compete with more competitive schools. There's a lot more schools within the APIAL. There's 30 schools. So the talent pool in the time that they get to participate against higher level competition is just growing. We also want to offer diverse sports, and with the APIAL, that allows us to do that to better prepare our athletes to compete against a better level of competition. Also, there's a pipeline that we want to develop, because with the APIAL, it allows for our elementary school to allow their students to participate within the sports. And so that gives us the opportunity, if you're familiar with sports, kids like to follow go with the teams as they move up in the different levels. And so if we can get that program started, that would just help us increase the numbers in the athletes that we have within our system. And then academic supports, and this is Fridays that we're focusing on in this area, and that's to allow the things that we noticed that we needed to improve on. So there were two things. So one was our math scores that we felt that we need to improve, and our staff is behind us on this as far as understanding the longevity of and importance of increasing math skills, and then our skills for reading. So in that, on Fridays, what we offer is we offer interventions for our students who are struggling in math. We also have our students participate in taking books off the shelf and reading with our assistant principal, Miss Cadillo. And then we also focus on front loading notes and our flavor assessment, so we can support our kids, so they can, as we add rigor to our flavor assessments, support those kids in that area. And that's what I feel are the key points that help us retain students here at Explore Academy.
Very nice.
Excellent. Thank you. And I appreciate that, Mr. Branch. Any questions from the board for him? And then, because after him, I will transition to some other things we're doing school-wide.
This is great. Thank you.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Branch. And I'll jump in on something that he's adding here in terms of math intervention. So something I wanted to share with the board, which I don't know that this is something that we've put out there, but what we wanted to put together for the campuses is a much better structure of how we're utilizing our Fridays. That was one of the promises that we made to parents, is that things would be available for kids on Fridays. As was mentioned before, I think, when Val says it was 26% moved out for more of a traditional model, like that comprises that's a big chunk of kids who we sort of, there was an understanding that we were going to lose some kids due to the 4-day week. But what we had told parents is, trust us that we will try to bring your kids along for the ride on Fridays if we can adequately support it. So what we put together, because we had, the first question was, how do we get staff to meet contract days? Because they didn't want to see contracts reduced. So we knew there were some Fridays that staff had to work. And we started building those in as either an in-service day or a contract day where they do PLCs and on-site training, or it's just simply part of the term break, which is what's expected at the end of each term. And we know they're working, even if it's off-site, we know that they're working. I think both principals have moved in the direction of, we want them on-site because we want them doing grading and things here, but we also have a chance to fit in some PLC work with them. But our families needed to know what is available. So for instance, at our K-5 program, we have this 8 to 12 program, which is free and is free for families, run by the staff. We pay them an hourly rate to keep kids for 4 hours on Friday, and they have a broken out schedule. About every 30 minutes, there's a thing that they're doing during that 8 to 12 time, and then parents pick them up or the bus takes them home. On our 6 to 12 campus, as Mr. Branch was mentioning in terms of math intervention, is we tried to build in, what does our intervention program look like, our support program and enrichment. For mid-high, we assumed that this wasn't going to have a whole lot of traction until a term or two is under their belt. So for kids who have gotten through a term and then say, wait, I am struggling more with math than I anticipated, maybe I should be there Friday. Or coming up, I have failed some courses, I would like to do credit recovery before I get too far into my career so that I can continue moving up that matrix of requirements. We wanted them to be sure that what they have is access to some kind of programming where they can do that. And in addition, which I think I had mentioned at either last board meeting or the one prior, some of the parents have been very generous with their time in trying to set up activities that kids can do or that families can get together and do. So as an example, this Friday, State Fair Day, not anything the school is doing, this isn't something that we are putting on, but the families are saying, why don't we let people know we can gather at the gate at a certain time and we can go into the state fair, so that for parents who want to know what to do with their kids instead of them just being at home, there's a place for them to be while the staff is on campus doing on-site training and things like that. So we have tried to create some mix in there. You'll notice, as an example, on the 26th, our staff are not on campus. They are officially off campus. There will be those who are there for tutoring purposes only, but in addition to that, they have set up a CPR class that goes from 8 to 12, a cooking class from 10 to 12, a Girl Scout group that goes from 9 to 10. And the families are trying to sponsor a group going to clean up Balloon Museum in preparation for Balloon Fiesta. So lots of stuff going out there. And Sonia Carrillo is the administrator placed kind of in charge of Fridays to say begin coordinating. And again, part of this was to mitigate the impact that the shift for the 4-day week would have to our enrollment numbers. We wanted to say, we don't want the lack of school on Friday to be a barrier for you being able to have your kids somewhere and doing something. Now, it has proven that before we even could roll, I mean, you saw the reason I showed you the calendar of withdrawals, this wasn't even, we weren't really in school yet before parents started pulling their kids. So we didn't have much of an opportunity to rescue those families in the form of, let's show you the kind of programming that we have scheduled for Fridays, because much of it depended on interest. As an example, we had spoken about getting buses to transport students to the campus. We did a survey in May. We had 59 families respond saying they would definitely utilize bus service to bring their kids to school every day to participate in programs. What we got for enrollment on the buses were 14 kids, not 59. So we went from 4 buses down to 2. We just sent the survey out again last week, and as of Friday at 5 p.m., we have a total of 16 families that will be using those 2 buses, so 8 kids on each bus. It's at the end of the day, I made a joke to Lisa Hughes. I said, Alan Brower on the PEC cannot tell us that we are not providing opportunity for kids to access our Friday programming, because dang it, we have those buses out there, even though cost benefit analysis would say it's 16 kids is a good number. It's not terrible. It's not what we were anticipating, not what we were trying to get funded for that. But our intent was to put out a calendar of things that kids could be doing on Fridays, all on the school's dime. So obviously there's no reimbursement for transportation on Fridays because there are no instructional days. Any food provided to the kids not reimbursed because they're not instructional days, and hourly pay to teachers is above and beyond their contract time for those days. So all of that is something that things that we put in place for the purposes of trying to keep families present. In addition, as Mr. Branch mentioned, in terms of teacher training, one thing that we were cognizant of is that, yep, kids started our school and it is darn difficult. That 80% pass rate is a challenge. Add to it the limitation of 20 days in a term. Add to it a mastery-based learning model where they have to know the skills. They can't just produce fluff work and pass a course with an 80%. All of it's tough and it's a learning curve. And so we met with the 6-12 teachers and said, we need to give them an opportunity to adapt to our school, just like I had to when I was a new teacher at Explore. I needed some time to adapt to the model and to understand what that pacing was like. And my first few terms, to be honest, were a challenge because it's not anything I had been used to, and no family who is outside of Explore Academy has ever experienced our school. So all of them needed some grace. And we've talked with our teachers on making sure that they're giving some grace, especially within this first quarter, understanding what our exam retake policy looks like, ensuring that their training and teacher training is sort of geared towards how do we better support kids in what they're doing at our school. So all of that is, I wanted to sort of lay out for the board the team that is here and the package of things that we have tried to put together as a means both to address ensuring that our kids who indicated they were coming back came back, ensuring that our kids selected through the lottery to our school were given every opportunity to get in the doors of the building, but the ones who were sort of dragging their feet were also told, we need room for these kids that are here. And then what we're doing now programmatically, what Mr. Branch is putting into place, what we're doing as a school, all designed to make it an attractive environment for kids. We're still short numbers like that. That fact isn't different because of all this, but all of it, I think, was wanted to put out there for the board so that you all can see that if you're asking yourselves, well, I wonder what Explore Academy is doing in response to that, there's a lot that we're doing, and there's a number of people on the team that are doing it, and we wanted to put that out for you guys. So I will pause there. That was a lot of talking and a big chunk of our time tonight, but questions for the board or for any of us that are here that we can help you with?
No, that's one heck of a lift. Thank you for that very detailed report out. That was very, very nice. I was hoping that it'd be a little bit more popular and maybe with some traction. I mean, we're still early on in the school year, but I hope all of that Friday activity becomes magnetic.
Yeah, I think we were hoping for I will say this, I think we were hoping for a backward swing, that we knew we were going to swing out with some families that were leaving because of the 4-day week. And I think we were hoping for a backward swing on some families that would be attracted to that model. Now that we can, within Power School, both get a sense in the enrollment process of what got them to apply in the first place, but getting some traction. I will say that when we had a family that started, I think we put things out there. And one thing that I did speak to, I spoke to Justin and Alicia about, as I said, maybe we need to start looking at our website. Maybe it's hard to find some of the details within our website because our website's a little text heavy. You got to scroll through things. And the more I look at sort of education websites, many of them have kind of a very simplistic splash page with a lot of drop down menus to access the things, so that if you're a prospective family, here's your menu of things you can click on to get to it. If you're a current family, here's your menu of things that would be interesting for you. And so they are both open, and we're going to have a conversation about, are there some tweaks we can make to lending itself? So the example I was using is a parent who started at our elementary school, started on a Tuesday, did not know we didn't have school Fridays. And Jennifer Vargas, our K-5 principal, said, let me go through all the items that are available to the families through the process to see where it says clearly that we're a 4-day week. And it didn't much. There was some interpretation one had to do on the school calendar to know that the grayed out Fridays meant no school, but that's not actually on the legend on the calendar posted on our website. It doesn't indicate that it grayed out equals we don't have school that day. So I did ask, and of course, Alicia, who I know she's here this evening, will be joining. She jumped on the website, got the 4-day week put on there. It was something Mr. Branch prioritized mentioning in the KRQE beat piece that we did. We got the September 18th thing put up on the website. So we are looking at some ways to make that website a little bit more user-friendly for families, especially those who are interested. Like, I almost feel like once you're in the school, they know how to navigate the website well. It's the ones who are unfamiliar with it that are struggling to find what they're looking for. And we've tried to make it simplistic through graphics at the top. Click here, that's the button you want. A great big bold thing that says click here to enroll, that's the button you want. But just as a splash page of information, it's a lot of text up front for families. And we just, as much as I, as an English teacher, wished people read in detail, I may have to come to grips in my old age that they're just not doing that. And we may need to make it a little bit more visually. We need to put the pictures of the menu items back on the cash register, is essentially what I'm saying. So excellent. If you have no other questions for me, I think that's the big thing. I would, as board members, I guess I have to say that this way, just so Karen Warner doesn't give me the evil eye through the camera. If each of you want to join individually and one at a time at our September 18th to stop by and see what our open house and informational night looks like, we'd love to have you just come walk through. We've not done one. It's iterated differently than what we've done in the past. So I know Mr. Branch, Katia, Mr. Hilkema, they've put a lot of effort into organizing something that will look and feel different. I'll be running some informational sessions for interested families that are there to share out the info with them. And we're hoping we can get some traction through that evening's event as well.
I just want to say for the record that you can have a quorum, attend any community or school event. It is posted on the website that there may be a quorum of you at these events, but please do not ever discuss decisions that you might be making when you're attending those events. So feel free to all attend Jake's information night. Just don't do any board discussions around anything that might come before you for a decision. And you're welcome to participate.
I would love if you all rode in on tandem bikes. That would be a brilliant showing of unification.
All right. We'll see what we can do.
Excellent. Thank you all.
All right. That brings us to our Director of Operations, first report of this school year, Ms. Alicia Bayardo.
I'm so sorry. Let me just say also thank you to Anthony and Katia and Val
Yes.
and for being here this evening. I appreciate you guys taking
Absolutely.
time to join. Thank
No,
you.
very informative. Thank you.
So I'm promoting Miss Bayardo, but I'm also going to, whoever hasn't left yet, I will move you to the attendees panel. Thank you. And I didn't notice when we lost Miss Anderson. But Dottie, you may want to note that in the minutes because she won't be included in votes going forward. But we haven't taken any votes in a while. We've been talking a lot, so it's okay. Maybe just note that now.
I apologize. I did not see when she left the meeting.
I didn't. I think you just note during that she left
Put
during
it in
the
now. Yeah.
head administrator's report. We lost her. Alicia,
Hi, everybody.
you have the floor.
Great. So I will echo what Jake said about the website. I'm definitely looking into that to figure out a way. So background of the website, because I do think it's important to know how we got to the website the way it is. I'll be fast. Is that the complaint historically was you don't have enough on your website. Like I want everything on the website. And we're like, sweet. So we continue to add more and more to the website to make it as robust as possible. And to also like toggle to the like phone mode, because every single change we make on the website, it suddenly makes the web version go completely insane. And I'm not sure why it's Wix that we use for the website. And I don't understand that. Like we will change the spelling in a box and then I go to the web version or I go to the phone version and it's like moved things across the page. I found the transportation button at the very bottom last week. And I'm like, why? Like, why are you down there? You don't go there and you have to like drag it up and it's not intuitive. So anyway, so we kept adding stuff and then people wanted it to be more graphic. So we started adding the buttons because we're like, all right, maybe people just want to click on something that looks like a handbook instead of the word handbook. I don't know. So as we've gotten this way, I think now it's gone the other direction where it's too much. And so I think one of the thoughts we're looking at is that the landing page is like prospective students, and there's like a button for current students and families that goes to the very functional website, right? Like when you're going to look at a website for like your doctor's office, it's going to be all the generic stuff, and you log into a patient portal to see all the stuff that actually applies to you. That's kind of what we're headed for, is like something that's much more snazzy and please come to our school, look at what we have to offer. And then something that's more nuts and bolts, like I'm already at your school, I've been here for 3 years, I need the calendar, right? Like that's the differentiation we're looking to make. And so, yeah, anyway, I wanted to tell you about that because it's exciting and we love redoing stuff and adjusting stuff, but I also wanted you to know why we got to where we got. All right, so on to my report. So it was a good start of the year. I think that the July start threw some people off. Like it's crazy to think that my beginning of year report for September and we're already done with term 1 and into term 2. It's just a different year. I can say as a parent of 4 kids that I know some people left with the 4-day instructional week, but we love it. Like a lot, and that's what we've heard from a lot of our parents in our group. And granted, we're biased because it's a lot of high schoolers, but I have nieces and nephews at the Rio Rancho campus and they love it. And they're in elementary school. So not all, I know it seemed a little doom and gloom in the other presentation, but not all families are sad. Like some families are super happy about this. So I do want to say that. Yeah, we didn't mind 5 days, but we love the 4-day thing. Our kids are having to like study and it's much more emulates college. Like they're having to study more outside of class. And we just think that's a really cool thing. So federal programs, everything seems to be going really well. We are working, Lisa, Karen, me, just kind of working on that transition between getting stuff ended with Axioms data, transitioned with VHO Group, and then prepping for a transition to an in-house business manager eventually. Like those are all things that are happening, and working on systems. I think we've spent a couple years trying to force our systems to work with a business manager own preferences. And I think now moving towards the goal of an in-house person lets us really design our systems to be the way that we envision them being. Lisa and Karen, I can speak for them the way I'd speak for myself, are sticklers for the details. And that was not appreciated over the last couple of years. And I think now VHO Group, I know, appreciates it. And I don't think they mind that we catch every little thing where we're like, hey, that's not exactly what we said. But I'm hoping an in-house person will also appreciate that, because usually business managers are on their own and they have to track all that by themselves. And for us, they've got all these other people with eyes on it. If that makes people uncomfortable, then they shouldn't be working with money, is my opinion, right? Like if you should have 20 eyes on stuff that deals with public funds. So All of that is still going good. The Perkins reallocation, I mentioned it a little bit at the end of year that we did get some reallocation money, and it's all really for Galton, and they had a very long list of supplies. Last year, when we got this reallocation money, I bought the anatomage table, and it was just kind of one giant purchase. So it's different when you're tracking like 100 purchases, but Brittany has done a really good job of getting every single one of those, and it was all different vendors and different POs, and so those are all on track to be done by the end of September. And everything else is still looking good. I haven't seen anything that has piqued my interest or made me worry. Any questions on federal programs? The only thing we're watching on federal programs is increasingly, I think the PED is moving towards just saying, oh, you're not going to get that allocation separately anymore. We're just going to throw it in SEG, which would be fine if SEG was then increased to match. But I think sometimes it's like, oh, if we just throw that on SEG, we don't have to increase SEG as much, but it's a net loss for the schools. And so I don't, there's a math thing that happens here that I think is creatively being made to look like we're getting more money and we're not. So I'm keeping, Lisa more than me is keeping her eye on what things are disappearing from their own line item and just magically going into SEG. And then sometimes it doesn't get accounted for, like stipends for certain trainings. Sometimes they're not accounted for, but then we find out after, oh, we put that in your SEG. So it's another expense on the school that we didn't know we had. All right, assessment and data, everything is going well. Melissa's still amazing and Lisa is still amazing. I just put that in here to document it for the world because I love them. Beginning of the year testing is in progress for all of the K-8 students. So K-1-2 is iStation. 3 through 8 this year, we are doing iMesa. So that is a bit of a change from last year. 3 through 5 last year also did iStation. But because their summative assessment is the NMASA, the NMMSSA, NMASA for English and math, they did make the decision that they wanted the interim to align with the summative. So now all 3 through 8 does the same interim test, which is the iMesa. This Thursday is actually going to be when the 6th through 8th graders complete that test. So that's all going good. We haven't seen any issues with that. The only issue we did have is that iStation sold their company to a new company, and there was a lot of data issues surrounding that. So it did take a few weeks to get that worked out, especially with syncing it through Clever, which is like the rostering system that is free for schools to use. But it's all worked out now. It was a little rocky for a little while. SAT is coming up. The PED did finally make the change that we were hoping they would make for years and years, which is to include 11th grade in the October administration of PSAT. It's always been logical. We've always done it for our 11th graders and paid for it for them. 10th grade was always paid for by PED, but now 10th and 11th PED is like, yes, test them all. But that's no change for us. We've always tested all of 10th and 11th. So that is in October. So we're just working on finalizing accommodations for College Board because it's a little finicky and you have to get them in advance and you have to upload IEPs and it's kind of laborious. So they're working on that. Danielle's working on that with Melissa. We were selected for NAEP again. And if you're new to schools, I'll just give you like the 10-second. NAEP is a nationally referenced test. So they test schools, students in schools anonymously across all states and territories of the United States. And then they publish a big thing. And that's what tells us how we're performing without any indication of who the students were, where they were, all of that. And then they can, break it down by state. We were selected a couple years ago for 8th grade, maybe. I can't remember, but it was definitely at Galton because I was at Galton when it happened. I had to go on site for it. This year we were selected for 12th grade. So that'll be, I believe it's 25 students will be randomly selected from our student population. And then NAEP people come in and physically test the students for you. They bring their devices, they put the students in rooms. So for us, it's just a logistical battle because they want to know all these kids' schedules for now. And we're like, that's cool, except for March, they will be in a completely different class than, they want the January, like when you start school in January, give us their semester schedule. And we don't have that because of our model. So that gets a little weird, but we'll get that done. They'll select their kids. Our kids will do great. We did some data compilation. I think Jake already shared some of it. So as you guys or Jake or anyone requests data, we've been doing a lot of data compilation for for different things. And we want to get better at that. And so what we're developing now is an assessment dashboard, which should help with that, so that the same way other dashboards we've developed over the last couple of years compile data for easily review, that will be there. And we are also going to switch that. In the years past, we used to give you like Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 reports. We're going to actually just switch to a dashboard for that, because we feel like transferring the information to a Google Doc and writing all the narratives sometimes actually just wasn't necessary. Like, the data speaks for itself in a lot of ways. So we're going to trial a dashboard for that. And then it can be done throughout the whole year, and the dashboard can then be archived for reference for the upcoming year. So we're working on that. Q1 is quickly approaching the end of it. And that's when you'll get 1 million feedbacks for non-instructional staff, feedback for Jake, feedback for the admins, staff and teacher feedback for all of the people in the school. So we're working on getting all those prepped, and that will include the new student survey that rolled out. So redoing the way we gather the data for that, since all of the metrics are different. Pair assessment. I know that that's kind of in the weeds, but I just wanted to let you guys know that we are looking for looking at the transition for the pair assessment, which right now we do exit exams in Google Forms. There's limitations on that. And we also even found a new weird quirk this week, where if a parent is signed in on their student's Google account, which they can, I mean, parents can sign in if they're, to their kid's account on their computer, GoGuardian sometimes pushes the exit exams to that device. So there's like some whole things that we're trying to, yeah, it was fun. Luckily, it was Felicia Boatman, who works at the school, and is like, why did an exit exam just open on my screen for my son? So we're working on that, but pair assessment is a different way to do that. You can upload our assessments into pair assessment, create pair assessments in there, and then it gives a lockdown browser that is much more user-friendly and has more control, and also has the grading done on the back end with all the analysis, and also allows you to tie every single question on the exit exam to a standard, all encompassing in the platform. So that way, when we say, well, we're looking at 6th grade English and what standard seems to be lagging, you can actually break it down by standard. Right now, we can break it down by standard, but it's brute force broken down by standard. Like, we have to go and analyze the data by hand to figure out on all the exams what standard is linked to that, and what was, whose performance was not good in that. And it's very exhausting. It will be a slow rollout. I will say that. What they made, of course, salesmen, right? They made it seem like so easy, guys. Like, upload your exams. It's going to be amazing. Turns out it does not capture any images, any graphs, anything that is not literally, like, I don't know if any of you've made a Google form, but when you're typing in your questions, all of those will get ported over. But if you've inserted an excerpt of text, a link, anything like that, doesn't go over. So you have to manually add those. So we have hundreds and hundreds of exit exams. So it is going to take some time. So our CNI people, Lucy and Val, are doing like a systematic approach to like where are the easiest ones we can get in there and start trialing it out, right? Like, let's do some trial groups and make sure that we've got like pilots that can tell us, all right, we piloted it. These were the problems. So we're not going to rush the rollout of that as much as I would love to rush the rollout of that, because it's a cool system. It's just not as user-friendly to get it going as they said. Everything else is going well. Title III, we are still running into some issues with the Title III funding and its lag, because we're in a consortium, because we're too small to get Title III money on our own. And so sometimes we just can't get materials fast enough when the teachers need them, and then we can't use operational money, because if you do that once, then that is forever not allowed on Title III ever again. Otherwise, it'd be supplanting. So, working with people who will donate things, like we needed picture dictionaries for Mandarin and Japanese, and I just went and bought them because I don't want Jake to buy them out of operational, and then we can never buy picture dictionaries ever again using Title III money. So that is annoying. So I'm just hoping that over time that gets a little bit better. I think that, and I know I'm talking fast, but you guys all had this report, so I hope I'm not offending you by speed racing. Any questions on assessment and data? Sweet. All right, compliance. Compliance is great because we have Karen. Transition is complete for the new HR, like, staffing person. The new setup where you've got the kind of like the Val's counterpart who's all adult facing, right? Like Val's student facing and Tina is adult facing. That has worked out super, super well. Tina's awesome. Latasia is doing really, really well in the new like staffing manager role. She's a logistics manager whose focus is staffing. She's learning still, so you know there is some onboarding involved, but she's really taken well to it, and it seems like it's going really, really well. Working through some issues related to the delay with just information processing. I know people from my team met with people on site and met with Val last week to kind of work on that. Because with I know Val mentioned the massive amount of withdrawals you guys have had. What happens is that the delay in knowing that happened, the delay in actually disenrolling the student, the delay in getting that out of the student information system, the delay in ensuring that Katia knows there is a spot open, the delay in then sending the acceptance letter to the student on the waiting list if there's a wait list, like all of those delays are things. So we're working through how to get that data to flow more quickly. That is just the best I can say is we're just working on that. Like Jake said, though, we did do the analysis of the data and it was anomalous, the amount of withdrawals you had this year. Like, and I know some people told us, well, the school's bigger. The school's not that much bigger than last year. That's not it. It really was anomalous, the amount. So I don't think anyone was prepared for that amount of withdrawals and the data that has to flow to get all those things done. So we're working on it. We want to make it more seamless. Karen got all the suggestions and changes to the handbooks completed. All that was good. MLSS and Ed Plan, which are both requirements, are on track and having no issues. I actually think Jake and his team had I don't want to say it was fun because I don't think any of this stuff is fun, but I think it's a really good exercise in looking at the data and everybody being on the same page about things. So as much as I hate busy work and red tape and things that get rolled down that sometimes, admittedly, I don't see the value in, when all of a sudden you have a whole bunch of adults getting on the same page about something, then I appreciate it and I see the value. So I stand corrected on my complaints about the MLSS plan because I do think it was worthwhile endeavor after we worked on it. So, and again, there's some really good people employed at the school, where you're like, hey, you two who are in two fields that are kind of related, I need this deliverable in 3 days. And they're like, okay, like that. I can't say how much that matters. Like it shouldn't ever be understated, like how much it matters to have people that are just that good at their job, where you just give them, here's the parameters, here's my end result. I need this. Tell me what I can do to help you get there, but I need you to get this. And they're like, okay, I love that, right? Like there's no shock. There's no, I can't believe you're asking this of me. People are just like, cool, that sounds good. So I love that. So Clint is who I'm referring to with Melissa on that one. Like he's a data whiz. He's done really, really well at the data. And I'm like, hey, I need this. And they're like, cool. I mentioned the student survey. Everything did go out without an issue. We actually, don't quote me because I don't think I'm wrong. Maybe quote me. I think we had more students complete the survey than we usually do. And I say that because in the past, if you guys had ever looked at the survey results, I'm a student at Explore. I have to take the survey 5 times for each like one for each class. Now it's one survey and then they go through and they pick. Now that created problems on the back end, obviously, because as a teacher on the survey, you're either going to get selected for a positive, not selected for a positive, like left blank, or you're selected for the negative aspect of that same thing. And so there was like a +1, 0, -1 situation where before it was Likert. Likert is easy, right? Likert's 1 to 5, you can average easy. This one is trickier for them to work through on the back end to figure out what's the best way to quantify this data and show it where you can actually analyze it on the back end. But on the student facing, I think it did what it needed to do. It asks the questions in a more clear way. It lets them take one single survey, and it also lets people stand out in the students' minds, right? Like you want to stand out as a teacher in a good way, right? Or sometimes you stand out in a bad way. But I think it was, based on the preliminary data, I think it went well. I didn't see a huge drop in students taking it. And so that was awesome. All right, compliance questions. Sweet. All right, operation stuff. And this one's a little longer because I tried to just give you guys like a list of things. Again, Lisa's amazing. I wrote this on here in detail, but without a 21st bus, even with the lower than expected enrollment numbers this year, we are struggling to make sure all kids who want a seat on the bus have a seat on the bus. It is not enough of a struggle that they will grant us a 21st bus, but it is enough of a struggle that there are kids on the waiting list. So Lisa is very diligently working through those waiting lists every week. She is implementing, I believe this next week, the bus captains. And so what the bus captains will do is they take attendance on the bus every day. And so we can start seeing patterns of kids who are consistently not using the bus they signed up for. And that way we can reach out to those families, and that's it, right? Like you rode the bus once this year, we got to remove you because there is another child waiting for that spot, right? So it's some awkward conversations. I appreciate Lisa and her ability to handle those with grace and patience because it's not an easy job. I know because I did it for 9 years, but I appreciate her nonetheless. So we're going to keep working on that. We did have some wonkiness at the beginning, and luckily we didn't have a ton of parent complaints about it because I hope they understood that we were doing it for their benefit, but we did have to change routes. We had to move stops between routes. We had to do a lot of stuff, but now it's running relatively smoothly. Just there's a wait list for several routes, and there's no wiggle room on the 3 routes that are not funded by PED. And that's unfortunate because one of those routes we could fit 10 more kids, but we can't put kids that live in Albuquerque on those routes because then they won't be funded. So yeah, not happy times, but otherwise the buses are doing okay. They're doing okay. All of the general daily things that I monitor are all fine. I have not seen anything that is concerning to me. We did have a couple directors who taught during quarter 1 or term 1. So like some of them are middle school, so they're still teaching right now. And so that was really cool to see them on campus and actually teaching in the model. Some of that, like Melissa had never taught in the model. So it was fun to see her, go on site and have to teach and kind of get the teacher's perspective on things. And then Joey was on campus every day in the IT office for coverage while the IT manager on site was teaching a class. So I think it was a good experience for them. I was happy that they did it. No issues with my personal area of doing stuff. Clever is running and it's doing fine. We're actually using it to roster pair assessment so that they don't have to manually roster every student every term because that would be crazy. Performing some Google file audits. People are losing things recently, I've noticed. So they need me to go in and figure out where they went or who changed the permissions or who deleted the file. I've had more of those in the last 6 months than I ever have had. The apparel vendor turnaround times, I have not heard any issues. Please always let me know if you do, but they did implement the rush shop. I don't remember what it's called, to be honest. I'd have to Google their website to tell you, but what they did is completely stock part of their warehouse with just our material because we quickly became their biggest client. So they just have a whole bunch of items that are always there for same day turnaround. So you order it, it goes out that day, up until like 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. whenever I think they use UPS, but whenever it closes, right, they'll ship stuff same day. Everything else is on the previous website, and that's where they can custom order. Even if the colors are out of stock, you can custom order it and say, I want it when it comes in stock. But the turnaround times have been pretty phenomenal on those. And they let parents pick up anything they want at their store on Manal. So that's kind of cool. We are making progress on all of the dashboards. I mentioned we were making these in the spring, but there's an enrollment dashboard now that is all encompassing of a lot of different people's spreadsheets from last year, and that's working really well. The admin dashboard is run by Felicia, the director of logistics. And so that's like a one-stop shop for the admins to see when things are due. A whole bunch of people contribute to it and make sure that the tasks are on there. Lisa is diligently working on new grant sources all the time. She's looking for grant sources. And then monitoring the issues with payroll. I think you guys had already heard about this, but everybody on site completed new W-4s. The deductions were not correct before. Yeah, my paycheck changed significantly, so I have no idea what was being deducted before, but now it's accurate and it sure changed. So that's cool. And then APTA is the system we're back in for payroll and all that. And so all those accounts have gone out, and I think they've already worked through access issues. So we can all see our payroll, our pay stubs and all that in the system again. So that was kind of a lot in operations, but any questions on any of that? All right. Now that I've bored you sufficiently, any questions not on my report that you guys have questions about? Awesome.
No, ma'am. Bill, you might be curious. Alicia reports to the board. We only have 2 direct reports as a board. Most boards just have one, and that's the head administrator, but Alicia actually reports to the board. So we have 2 direct reports. So we ask Alicia to do a kind of a quarterly-ish report out to us to let us know how things are going. And this is the first one for the year. And Jan out there who is listening, a little heads up. So we do have 2 direct reports to the board.
And if there's ever a time where you want me to address anything specifically that you're not sure if it falls in Jake's purview or my purview, feel free to let Karen know, like, hey, on the or let Jake know or me know, like, hey, on the upcoming one, I want someone to address this. And whether it is more Jake's thing or my thing or both of our thing, we will gladly add in anything you'd like. So I think I come back again in December or January. I always forget. February? January.
We actually do it.
Oh, go ahead.
We actually do it. We switched from quarterly to 3 times a year, but I have down that you come in January and then again in May.
Perfect. So when when I'm coming for January, if you also I will come to the meeting anytime. So if you're like, hey, I know you just came, but come again next month, that's totally fine. I'm glad. The quarterly ones never really aligned with things I could report well, so that's why we switched them to 3 times a year, because then it aligns better with things that are reportable. So like in January, I can kind of recap semester 1, recap terms 1 through 4, all of those things, and then prepare for the spring. But anytime you guys want any more information about something, absolutely let me know. I will make an off-cycle report for you, or I'll just show up. Yes.
Chair Molina and Mrs. Berardo, I do have a question.
Yes.
Do you remember when you used to do the surveys of students and staff? Do you still do those surveys, or has
those are the ones I mentioned that we changed the format of the survey. So those surveys still go out. The student surveys are every term at the 612. And so those are because we don't survey K-5 because they don't 100% grasp what they're answering. So we survey parents for them. So instead of doing the quarterly report like we used to present every quarter for you guys with those results, we're going to have a dashboard that has that same information after quarter 1 ends. So that will have the stakeholder survey, which is parents, basically. That will have the compilation of term 1 and 2 student surveys. And then it will have the teacher survey and the staff survey, because those are slightly different based on certified teacher versus not all the plethora of other positions that we have. So all of those things, plus the seminar pass rates for quarter 1 or term 1 and 2, all of that will be in that data dashboard that we will, and we don't come to present it unless you'd like me to. Usually we just send it with Jake and Jake presents it, but we will compile all that data at the end of quarter 1 and have it ready for you whenever your meeting is after that.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Sweet. Well, I will let you guys, I will hang out in the audience in case you all need me for the ratification item further down the agenda, but I'm here anytime. Reach out if you have any questions, or if you want to talk about anything, I'm always around.
Excellent. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Have a good one.
You too. All right, Miss Karen, the floor is yours for general updates and reminders.
Okay, so this is getting to be a little bit of a long meeting. And so I'm gonna also go pretty fast unless you want me to slow down, just holler. Also, I'm not sure if you're planning a closed session or not, Mr. Molina, but if not, maybe we could do the ratification and at least Miss Schubert before that.
Yeah, I
Some things
think
to think about. But
I think the closed session will be very fast. I just need Jake to share with the board some elements of a conversation we had earlier today so that Dottie and Heather can forge on in their facilities committee. So I don't think it's going to be a very long one, but it'll be really rich. So we can move that around on the agenda. I don't have a problem with that whatsoever.
I don't either. I just thought I know how it is in a classroom, and some of you maybe need to get up and stretch. But I'm going to go ahead and plow on through my thing here
Okay.
about the contract. So we were supposed to review the contract. Most of you have seen it already. If you haven't, you have a link to it on your agenda every week. So I'm not going to spend time, but we just renewed in 2024, so it's through 2029. It has not only the basic contract language, but also performance framework that we're going to be talking about a little bit later, mission goals. You all are the Board of Finance, and we were approved, of course. So just going to scroll through really quickly so that I can say we actually did this. Boilerplate language, feel free to read it. Definitions, um, exhibits and required documents, talks about those. It has some operational elements that we're required to do, all of which we do. Have a head administrator, business manager, CPO, etc. If you decide to have a pre-K program, we need to notify the commission, etc., etc. And then we get into some more school-specific things here with the mission and educational program, which is specific to our school on page 8 and 9, and so on and so forth. Most of this is not that important. It does say that we will make contract for transportation. We do provide it. We do provide food service. Um, and it explains all the details of what we have to do that Jake or I make sure we keep the PEC apprised of as best we can. But just wanted you to be aware, particularly of those pieces that at the beginning there that we are obligated to do in terms of mission and educational program. What's required if we want an amendment is in here. If you have any dispute with the PEC, and of course, signed off by your board chair and the then chair of the commission, Patty Gibson. The next page has all the performance framework. I'm not going to spend time on this because we're going to talk about it a little bit later in an assurances section. But if you ever have any questions about how they're rating you in these 3 areas, this is sort of a summary of all the indicators that are listed further down in the performance framework. But the school is rated on academic, organizational, and financial indicators annually. So we're going to be talking about that later. So I think I'll stop there. But please know that if you haven't reviewed this document, you really should. And if you have questions, just let me know. Moving on, we did get an original preliminary ratings. I think we did go over this, but I can't seem to zoom in for some reason. Why is that? I think we did go over these back in April after the site visit, where these are the breakdown of all the indicators by academic, organizational, and financial. And most of the things we can't really tell you because more data is needed, no issues identified. And we talked about that in April. Some things they could rate after the site visit. So I just want you to know, I'll remind you of this little chart, but it does describe a little more detail about what each indicator has included in it and how you can meet or working to meet or do not meet in terms of ratings. And then recently we got this preliminary annual report. It's not the final because we don't have academic data yet. That's still embargoed, and accountability data, which includes things like graduation rates and attendance and other things besides academics. We don't have that yet. It's embargoed by the state. We can't share that yet. So they gave us a preliminary annual report that I'm not going to go over, but it's linked on your agenda. I'm just going to zoom down. This is a recap of mission and educational program from the contract. I'm going to zoom all the way down. You're welcome to review all of this. That's from last year. I don't know how they would know we exceed standards for. Oh yeah, this is from last year. So we exceeded standards on the mission goal, which we did talk about. They gave us a meet standard and exceed standard on these 2, which is awesome. These are the ones up here that we don't yet have data for. Scrolling all the way to the bottom is where we stand now on the on the indicators that you just saw after the site visit. So some are still waiting for, obviously, accountability and assessment data. Our mission goals exceeds, our education program meets. There's the exceeds again. Meets, They did give us a working to meet standard on one of our governing board things, which says we do not see evidence of the school posting agendas 72 hours in advance of their board meeting in May and June. I don't believe that that is accurate, and I don't know what evidence they have that we did not. So I've reached out to Charter Schools Division to confirm that. And I don't know what they mean by a board calendar on the website either, because our Open Meetings Act gives the board meeting. So I have to follow up on why that's a working to meet. Meet standard. These are all finance related or money related. So, oh no, this one, what's this one? Oh, this was regarding we had a special ed complaint and then a corrective action plan, which has since been resolved, but because of the cap, they gave us a does not meet. Finances is this one, cash on hand, and per the audit of, which would have been for the prior year, because that lags by a year. Does not meet because of the material weakness findings and a significant deficiency. And then meets, and working to meet on our enrollment because they want you to stay above or greater than 95%, and we were apparently at 89% in terms of the variance last school year. So all of these are linked on your agenda, but I stand for questions on, and we will get a final report with the other pieces eventually that will be approved by the PEC once that's released.
Okay. Very good. Any questions? Nothing to vote on.
No, just I have to show evidence that it's been shared with you. So this will cover that.
Excellent. Why am I not seeing it? So let's jump down to the ratification of the directors for the Explore Academy Foundation. And then we will chat about Miss Jan, and then we'll go back up to the top of section 8. So we're gonna be a little bit out of order, but we're not doing anything else to the agenda other than messing with the order a little bit. So the ratification.
Alicia is here and she can speak to this probably better than I can. So
Okay.
If you need her.
Sure. Shoot.
Oh, okay. So
You have the floor.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, got it. I wondered why she didn't send me back to the audience right away. I'm like, oh, she's probably just leaving me on there. Okay. All right. So there's 2 links on here for you. The second link is just the legalese from council. Like they sent this over to me and said this is the way it needs to be worded. So basically, and then Patrick, you can tell me if you need me to go into more detail, but I'll give like the quick version.
Okay.
Schools in New Mexico are not allowed to hold debt, period, right? I think most of you guys know this now. So in order to get a building, you either have to lease it and pay lease to a landlord, so rent that a landlord is keeping all the equity, or a nonprofit foundation can buy a building through usually a bond deal, a public bond deal, which is different than what the district school bond deals are. Those are public bonds that taxpayers pay and then the district pays for, gets the building. Charter schools are not afforded that option, so we have to pay for our own buildings. So the foundation can get your building for you, lease it back to you, and it's very similar. I like to look at it as like a lease purchase if you lease purchase your home because you can't get a mortgage on your own. But the goal is that when the mortgage is paid off, the property then reverts to the school. So you're building equity for yourself eventually, usually in 30 years, kind of like a mortgage, where the bank technically owns your house, but you're working on it. So that's kind of where we are. So when the foundation board was first made years and years ago, it's had membership changes throughout the year, but it's always been a very small board, and it doesn't do what a lot of other school foundations do where they handle money. I'm the chair of the board. We don't handle the money. You guys pay your trustee for your building directly. That's like, it's just not something we ever wanted to mess with. In fact, we don't even have a bank account. However, it's also limiting in a lot of ways. And so we are looking for solutions for that in the future so that the foundation can do fun things like scholarships for students and fundraising for the school and stuff like that. But in the meantime, I realized that you guys have not affirmed and ratified your foundation members in a while. And so members do come and go for a lot of reasons, whether they move out of state or they decide I'm on 3 boards and I just can't do this anymore. I think you guys know what it feels like to be on a volunteer board. And so sometimes they, they leave for that or their term ends. So we've had people term out and they don't want to get a new term. So they just term out. So the current members, I went ahead and put you a fact sheet. You all know me, but it's kind of cool to see my biography in case you have not had my biography before. And then the other members, we wanted a balance of someone who is extremely familiar with foundations, schools, and being a really good steward of public funds and understanding bond deals, but is not politically tied to New Mexico in any way, because unfortunately, I think that is important to have somebody who's pretty apolitical in our state. But we wanted to balance that out with somebody whose #1 priority is the students and the staff and the school. So that is what you'll see in the 2 other members of the foundation that sit on this board with me. Robert Giordano has tons of experience in the charter world, more than 20 years. He's an Army vet. He's just an all-around good dude, but has nothing to do with New Mexico. So he brings an extremely, I want to say, like, technical eye to everything about this board. He is looking at, is this appropriate? Is this the best deal that the school can get? Is this the best deal that the foundation can provide them, et cetera? And he's done dozens of bond deals, which is super helpful because it is, you guys have looked at the financials of the school. If you're just someone off the street who's never been a part of a school, your numbers are scary. Like, to the average person who's used to their own personal income taxes, like, you're looking at millions, and all of a sudden you start realizing, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money. So even as you're looking at just Galton, Masthead, other facilities, like, I think you guys see that the scope here is pretty large, and that can scare people. Honey Breen is actually the parent of 4 Albuquerque students. So 3 are at your school right now. 1 just graduated this past year. She is the head of your cheer club. Super involved parent, does a lot of stuff. She's like the ultimate sports mom. Everyone who does sports at your school probably knows Honey Breen. So that it's a good balance, because I know all the operational stuff and I've been around with the school since the school opened, and I'm super dedicated to its facilities and it's owning its own building and having no funny business involved with facility money. But I, wanted to round out the board with people who have different perspectives. So that is our current board members. I also went ahead and listed for you guys our term begin dates and our term end dates, just in case. So it is a pretty stable board right now. That could change, but you guys have us for at least several more years, with the option to extend those out past that if they so choose. And yeah, so that's the board right now. And so what this resolution does is something I did talk to Chair Molina in transparency prior to this meeting, that this was my bad. I should have brought this to the board when the board members changed, when I came on the board, and I think I just spaced it. And now that we are looking at potential bond refinancing and bond deals, I want to make sure all your ducks are in a row and that you have all the right resolutions in place. So that's why I brought it now, even though your bond deal is not until November. So anyway, that's it. But I'm here to answer any questions you have about any of us that are on the foundation board. But also, if you have any questions about the resolution, I can do my best to describe them. But in transparency, I did not write them. These were written by the foundation council and your school council, Patty Matthews. So I don't have anything to do with the language on the resolution itself. That came from the lawyers.
All right. Any questions for Miss Alicia before I make a motion? So for all intents and purposes, this is rather administrative. Therefore, I move to ratify the resolution and the directors of the Explorer Academy Foundation as presented.
I'll second. Oh,
Go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Dottie.
thank you.
Awesome. All right. Any discussion or questions?
I think we need to fill in 2026 at the top. It has 25 dash blank. So, unless you're doing through the term, which I believe the soonest somebody's term ends is 2027, but either way, just top of it looks like there's a blank.
Yeah, they left the top blank for you guys, and they also left all of the resolution material blank so that you guys could fill those in after. Good point that I don't know if that is supposed to, my assumption
Yeah.
was that it was 2026 up there. But I will get clarification on that so that you guys know exactly what date to put on there. And then they have some other stuff at the bottom, same thing, like motion carried, motion failed, how many in favor, how many against. So I think the secretary and Karen worked together to get those filled out, but I will get clarification from council. I'll email them right now to ask.
Alicia, don't email them. It's just a number. So normally you have many resolutions, and so it's the year and then a number of the resolution.
Oh,
We
perfect.
can, I'll take care of getting that filled in and the ending information on the resolutions. That's usually once approved, I can go ahead and do that. And it doesn't have a signature line on here, but we usually do have the signature generally of the secretary.
It's on
once
the
it's
third,
approved.
it's on the third page. It has the printed
Oh,
name
okay.
and the secretary signature. Yeah.
So I'll make sure to get that done, assuming it's approved after this vote.
I
You're
remember
welcome, Karen.
signing
Thank you so
this,
much.
a document like this when I was like first became a secretary way back in the day.
Whenever the lawyers ask for a formal resolution, we use them. For most of the votes that you take, we don't need an actual resolution. So anyway, but we'll take care of it.
Awesome.
All right. Any further discussion? Thank you, Bill. Well then, Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to ratify the resolution and the directors of the Explore Academy Foundation as presented?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Bill Brown,
Aye.
and Dottie McKinney, aye.
Very good. Then we will move down to item F. And I would like to nominate Ms. Jan Lee Corbett Schubert to the Explore Academy Governing Council. So that nomination is open. Ms. Karen, if you would move Ms. Schubert into the panel, that'd be great.
And then Alicia, I'm assuming I should move you to attendees, yes?
Yep. I'll say bye to everyone. Have a
Bye.
lovely evening. Nice to meet you, Bill.
Howdy, Miss Jan. Miss Jan had some prior plans for this evening, so she might be joining us via phone. I hope everyone had an opportunity to look at her very brief bio, for lack of a better term. She's been retired for a little bit, so she ginned up a bio for us that I sent to Karen so that it could be included in our agenda. But Ms. Jan is uniquely qualified, in my opinion, to backfill Martha, who is an educator, and Ms. Jan was an educator for many a year. So, Ms. Jan, if you are able, are you willing to accept the nomination?
Yes.
Awesome. Very good. Then, before we vote, pardon me, I move to elect Ms. Jan Lee Corbett Schubert to the Explore Academy Governing Council. A second, and then we'll open it to discussion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Dottie. All right, any questions? There she is. Any questions, thoughts, curiosities for Ms. Jan before we move to a roll call vote? All right.
As a music teacher, what's your favorite instrument?
Ooh.
Good question.
Or at
I
least what
play-
is the instrument you play most? Or...
I played bassoon. That's what I grew up playing. My dad was a music director, so he put me on bassoon and my brother on tuba because that's what he needed in his bands. So, but I also played piano and still do. So yeah, those are my favorites.
Okay, awesome.
I can believe how easy bassoon was to learn. I was a sax player, and the band needed a bassoonist, so I thought, okay, I'll try it. It was really neat.
It's the double reed thing makes it different. Yeah. Yeah.
Sure does.
Yeah.
So, all right. So bassoon. Very cool. Any other questions for Miss Jan? Well, I say we strike while the iron is hot. Miss Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote
Yes,
to elect Miss Jan Lee Corbett Schubert to the Explorer Academy Governing Council as a
You
general
can leave
member.
off the Lee Corbett if you want to. Just
Oh,
Jan
that's
Schubert's good enough.
Very good.
yes, sir. Chair Molina,
Aye.
Bill Brown,
Aye.
Dottie McKinney, aye.
Welcome aboard, Miss Jan. You are
Okay.
on the board.
All right. Thank you.
So if
So
if I may,
please.
I just want to say welcome, Jan. I am Karen Warner, the board liaison. So I don't actually serve on the board, but I help get agendas ready and materials and things. So I will be sending you an email with some information and some forms you need to get signed, one of which needs to be notarized. I will send an email off to you. If you have any questions, my phone number, email is on there. You're welcome
Okay.
to call me anytime or email me, text me, and I'll be able to help you. But we will need to get a packet submitted to the Public Education Commission designating you onto the board officially.
Got it. Okay.
Thank you and welcome aboard.
Thank you. Okay.
So now the Cherry Hills community
Right.
has really
Growing.
committed to this school. So Jan is not only a former educator, she's my neighbor. So
Turns
Heather lives
out-
up the street,
Yeah.
and Jan lives over here, and I
Yeah.
live right here. So
Yeah.
here we are.
Okay.
And
All right.
I
Thank
Excellent.
think I think Heather was involved in this
Oh
recruitment
yes,
as well.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, she
Oh,
was.
yes, she
Yes, she was.
As was her
Very good.
Arden. Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so very much for accepting the nomination.
Thank
So
you.
glad to have you on board. All right. I say we jump into the closed sessions for about 5, as long as it takes for Jake to articulate what's going on so that we can give Dottie and Heather some marching orders to sort it all out and bring it back to the board. So I move. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to ask if I created a closed session that I can share with you.
Okay.
But the only person in attendees right now is Justine Vigil.
True.
So
And that's fine if she stays here.
we could just all stay. And I'm not sure if
Okay.
I should put Jan to I mean, she could certainly listen. She's going to be on the board, but I assume put her to the attendees because she won't be actually voting tonight, right? Or no?
That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Screw it.
Yeah.
All right. So I move to enter into a closed session for the purpose of discussing the acquisition of a new facility to create a K-12 campus as permitted under section 1015(1)H8 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act. A second, please.
All second.
Thank you. Thank you. Then we will now move into closed session, which here we are. So Jake, would you please articulate the...
Are we stopping the recording for this, or do we? Sorry,
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I heard a motion a second, but can we have even if it's a voice vote? I didn't hear a voice.
Oh
vote.
yeah, we need a vote. Miss Dottie, would you please conduct
I haven't.
a voice?
Yes, Chair Molina,
Yes, yeah, aye.
Bill Brown,
Aye.
and Dottie McKinney, aye.
All right, I move to exit and close the closed session for the purpose of discussing the acquisition of a new facility to create a K-12 campus.
I'll second.
Please. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to exit and close the closed session for the purpose of discussing the acquisition of a new facility to create a K-12 campus?
Yes, sir. Chair Molina,
Aye.
Bill Brown,
Aye.
and Dottie McKinney, aye.
All right, we are back in open session, everybody. Due to the length of this meeting, I'm going to suggest that we cover 2 more items on our current agenda, defer the rest to October, and the items would be the governing board bylaws and the assurances for compliance indicators. So Ms. Karen, take us through the bylaws and the assurances.
Was that a motion, Chair Molina? Do we need to close that out, or should I just proceed?
There's probably official language to do that, but I wasn't prepared in my notes to do that. So I move to defer all remaining items on our agenda to the October meeting, with the exception of the governing board bylaws and the assurances for compliance indicators 3C.
I second.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Study, would you please conduct a roll call vote to defer all remaining agenda items with the exception of the governing board bylaws and the assurances for compliance indicators 3C, please?
You want Dottie to take a roll call on that?
Yes, a roll call vote, please.
I'm sorry. Chair Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Bill Brown,
Aye.
and Dottie McKinney, aye.
All righty, let's crank on through the bylaws.
And am I correct that there was no action as a result of the closed session?
No action, yeah.
Okay, bylaws. I think the only thing obviously, if you want to make any changes to the bylaws other than what I'm about to show you, we could do that at a future meeting, unless you already came with suggestions. Are you seeing the bylaws screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm going to just zoom down to where I've made a couple of changes based on what the CSD directions say. So they mentioned this statute, which I've linked here, and I pretty much reworded it to say charter school, but I think that basically took the wording from the statute here to include it in our bylaws. Basically says that we'll have at least 5 members and you can't be on a governing board of another charter school. And then also we can't have a board member who's also on a traditional school district board. Okay.
Okay.
Moving on, go ahead. Sorry. Did you have a question?
You're good.
Oh,
Nope,
okay.
not
Okay.
for me.
So then the only other change I put in here was they wanted to be sure that our finance and audit committees are covered per this statute linked here. And so I basically took the language for finance committee and audit committee from the statute and included it in here. You have already decided. I did leave this part about, though you're going to continue to discuss financial reports and details at the regular monthly meetings, at least 2 members of the board shall be appointed, which you've already done. It just wasn't in your bylaws. So adding it to the bylaws. And then we've already done what's required for an audit committee, but it wasn't in the bylaws. So this is just statute language I've added to the bylaws so that Missy doesn't tell me we didn't have it in here. The other things that are required are already covered. We had she said to make sure we have terms, which we have, to have how you handle vacancies, removal. I didn't change any of that, but it's all the points she said to be sure are here. Otherwise, so those were the only proposed changes I added, and ask for your approval so I can submit this with all the requirements.
Awesome. Well then, I move to approve the governing board bylaws as amended.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any conversation, folks? A lot of that, some of that was already in there, but I like the beefiness of it. I think it's very clear and it takes Missy out of the equation with regards to that. She's been pushing for a separate finance committee since I joined up. And when I told her in Santa Fe that we had one, she was filled with joy.
So I will have to submit an amendment request for notification regarding the bylaws, as well as submit this that they're collecting from everyone. So just so you know, I think this covers both. But.
Great, perfect. Any further discussion, folks? Well then, Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve our governing board bylaws as amended and presented?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Bill Brown,
Aye.
Dottie McKinney, aye.
All right. For John, Ms. Karen. And now for
Okay.
the assurance of compliance indicator 3, Charlie.
So first of all, this is the form that we need to sign. I added this red note because these links from the Charter Schools Division don't work. But this is the form we need to sign, and it's basically saying we are complying with all these things, and if not, here's what we're working on. I did go and find the correct links for these 2 things and link them on your agenda. One of them is, the main one is this one, where this tab, if you did look at it, this tab has instructions and what's going to be rated. This is the tab with all the compliance requirements. So I'm just going to share with you that if you want to just trust me, they're showing what the different things are for indicator 3C in your performance framework, what is required, mission, enrollment, amendments, et cetera, and what the standard is, where the resources are, they're going to do it, when they're going to reevaluate it, et cetera. I'm going to just scroll down and tell you that we're good, we're good, we're good. We are good with graduation requirements. You all approved the 2 local units and the school works on next step paths, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, all of these are good. I did highlight 2. This is new to me.
Oh, wow.
I missed this. It's a new bill. It does require that we include, I forget exactly, but some water safety guidance for parents in our materials and communicate it somehow. So this is one I have not done, and we will do. Also, the NM Dash plan, we do the annual education plans, and you just heard earlier about MLSS and SAP plans, but we are now required to do these 90-day plans. We are in the process of working on those. Most charter schools have not been doing them because we were exempt in the past. So those are 2 areas on this whole list that I will tell you, I am not comfortable that we can really say we are 100% complying. And so I suggest that we list those 2, but all the others we either are or will, yeah, all being done and handled appropriately. So I would like to propose that we submit the assurances document, but list here
Correct.
those 2 items, because I think that's in full transparency and what we're doing to get into compliance on those 2.
Yep, that makes sense to me.
If you have any questions, whether it's now or in October, about how we're meeting any of those other things, I'm happy to have a longer discussion, but I don't think it's necessary for tonight's purpose. I just would like your approval to submit the assurance with those 2 items as things we're addressing. Although if I can get it done before October 1st, maybe we don't need to worry about that. So an approval to submit the assurances that we will comply with all items on the list, I guess would be best.
Well, I move to approve the assurances for compliance indicator 3C with the water
Potentially.
item and the dash item on the form.
Unless I get that done
Unless you
by
get it, but we'll approve it now, and if you get it done, then it's moot. If you don't, it's ready to go.
What is the water item? Are they doing lead-based testing on all the water fountains?
No, I think it's just a notification to parents. Here, let me bring this up. I'll share there's a link on that document, but basically it says here that water safety guidance be provided to parents at the beginning of each school year. Each school board shall develop or adopt digital or written guidance for parents that promote student safety in and around bodies of water, including information
Pools.
about swimming in the arroyos, right? Like that kind of thing.
Pools, arroyos, holding ponds.
So I just didn't know about this act, missed it somehow. So it's new. It was just 2025 session. But we need to put something out and then include it, probably a reference to it in our student handbook is my guess, but it's not been done yet.
Okay. So the motion is out there. A second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Ms. Sadi, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve the assurances for compliance indicator for section 3C with the 2 elements that we need to become compliant upon?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Bill Brown,
Aye.
and Dottie McKinney, aye.
Alrighty. Very good. All of the other items on here we will refer to our October meeting, which should be a little bit more time. We had 2 financials to do this. It was a big meeting. Any board comments before we move to public comment that we can adjourn? Any board comments? Any?
No.
Okie dokie. Public comment. I don't think we have any public left. So, but we will open it up for public comment because everybody here is public. And having said that, I would like to adjourn this meeting at 8:43. Our next meeting is October 14th, Tuesday night at 5 o'clock, same format as Zoom. Again, everybody, thank you so very much.
Can you give me that date again?
October 14.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
All right,
you.
everybody. Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening. We'll see you
Thank you.
soon.
Talk to you soon, very soon.
All righty.
Bye.
Ciao.